Good afternoon, everyone. How y'all doing today? We got a little bit of Seahawks news. First bit of actual concrete news in a little while, it feels like, right? We've been dealing with rumors, we've been dealing with projections, we've been dealing with draft stuff, but we haven't had a whole lot of actual news until now. And this doesn't come as a big surprise to me. I think most people were expecting this. It made all the sense in the world, but as of a few minutes ago, per Adam Schefter, the Seahawks have put the fifth year option on Noah Fant. They have picked up the fifth year of his rookie contract, meaning that his contract now runs through 2023. So let's talk about exactly what the fifth year option is and talk about some of the ramifications of our inability to draft well in recent years, which has led to us not being able to utilize this perk. So, here's the general idea of how it works. When you draft a player in the first round, any first round player picks up an automatic 4 year deal on the rookie scale. So any first round pick from 1 to 32, they get a 4 year contract. However, those first round players also have a fifth year club option, basically. So after 3 years in the NFL, the team that player is on has that offseason. I can't remember the exact deadline, but I think it's coming up in a couple of months here. They have until some deadline after their third season to decide whether or not that fifth year is going to kick in. So basically, you can take a look at the player after 3 years and decide whether or not you think they should be part of your long term roster. And you can basically say, okay, we're going to pick up a fifth year at a reduced rate from what they would have gotten on the market, and the player can't do anything about it. The player is stuck. The player has to live with that fifth year option. So if you spend a first round pick on a player and that player becomes good, becomes valuable, the added benefit is that you get to pick up their fifth year option and get them for 1 more year at a rate that is far below what they probably would have gotten on the open market. And you also maintain long term flexibility to maybe after that fifth year still letting them go. So the fifth year option is a huge benefit for teams that we haven't been able to use lately. Our recent first round picks have not been worthy of the fifth year option, even though it's relatively cheap and even though it allows you to keep a player without committing long term to them. Guys like Germain Ifedi, LJ Collier, they're not even close to being worthy of using the fifth year option on. Even Rashad Penny. Now, Rashad Penny broke out in the second half of last year, but it was too late. We needed to make the decision on Penny after 2020. At that point, it would have been crazy to pick up the fifth year option on him. Now, if we could go back in time and do it knowing what he was going to do in 2021, maybe so. But by the time he broke out last year, it was far too late. So we have had a bevy of first round picks slide through here with no fifth year option. I don't think we picked it up on Bruce Irvin either, or actually James Carpenter, now that I think about it. So it's been quite some time since we've been able to use that fifth year option. So we've used it on Noah Fant, who is not our first round pick, but he was a first round pick. And if you take a look at his contract on Spotrac, you can see that picking up that option locks him into a 2023, basically a 1 year extension for $6.9 million. So that is, I believe, less than the cap hit that Will Dissly is going to have in 2023. That is a very modest cap hit for a playmaking, pass catching, semi prolific tight end. Now, obviously, if the Noah Fant thing really doesn't work out, some people really don't believe in Noah Fant. They don't think he's good. If he really ends up busting in Seattle, then obviously we're going to look back at this decision and go, hey, but honestly, in the modern NFL, a tight end doesn't need to be Travis Kelce to be worth $6.9 million in a year. If Noah Fant has 40 catches for 500 yards, that's probably worth 6.9 million. And if he can go beyond that and maybe become an 800-yard receiver or a 900-yard receiver, then we're getting him at a discount for that 5th year. So that's kind of the cost of not hitting on your first round picks. You miss out on the opportunity to use the benefit of the 5th year option. So we've traded for someone else's first round pick, and now we've managed to use it on them. So, hey, I guess that's one way to get around that little problem, but it would be much nicer if we could actually hit on our first rounders. Now, Jordan Brooks, the decision for him is going to be next year. We may pick up Jordan Brooks' 5th year option because he's playing pretty well, and we may look at him and go, he's going to be worth, I think it's actually going to be less than the 6.9 million for him. It might be like 6. So basically, Noah Fant has been locked in for the next 2 seasons. He's obviously going to be here in 2022 on a very cheap cost, $2.2 million, but we've now secured his services for 2023. And of course, I support this decision. This is absolutely the right decision. I think this is a no-brainer. No real decision to make here. If you're going to trade for Noah Fant, he needs to be one of the key reasons why you decided to move on from Wilson. As I've said before, there are a lot of reasons why you moved on from Wilson. One of them needs to be that you really like Noah Fant. So you've got to give him maximum opportunity to excel in your new offense. And honestly, this upcoming year with Drew Lock or Geno Smith throwing him the ball, not the best potential showcase. So you need to keep him through 2023. We have now done that. So it's certainly the right decision. And I think that this goes to show you what we're missing out on by missing on these first round picks and why it's imperative we start finding ways to hit on them. We got this number 9 pick coming up in this draft. We got to find a way to get a player who is at least worth using the 5th year option. Some people in my comments sometimes say, oh yeah, we missed in the first round, but the second round and on we do really well. And to a certain extent, that's true. I think it gets over-exaggerated a little bit. But on those players, second round and on, there's no 5th year option. You just have the 4 years and then done. So DK Metcalf, for instance, if he was a first round pick, you would have been able to maybe exercise that 5th year option on him if he didn't hold out for an extension this offseason, which, given the fact that he didn't have his greatest season last year, I don't know if he would or not. But because you took him in the second round, your options there are much more hamstrung. Look at what the Ravens are doing with Lamar Jackson. The Ravens probably could have gotten Lamar Jackson in the second round, but they specifically traded up into the first round at number 32 so they could draft him there so they would have the 5th year option. And that is helping them tremendously because this upcoming year they're going to have Lamar on that 5th year option. No long-term extension for a guy who has now started to break down a little bit. They get one more reasonably priced year of a starting level quarterback. And if he has a monster year, maybe they decide to keep him. But if he doesn't, I do think they will let him walk and just never give him the big bucks, which that is a phenomenal way of doing business in the modern NFL. So we need to start tapping into that. That is one of the many benefits of salary cap voodoo that the Seahawks have not been able to utilize lately, in this case, because they can't draft in the first round. All right, that's about it. Noah Fant will be here for another 2 years at the minimum. I like it. I'm happy. That's basically a rundown of the 5th year option. Let me know what you guys think. Peace out. Go Hawks.